the next promise that Andy Burnham made was in his 2021 manifesto was for better homes for people in Greater Manchester. Has he achieved this?
Again,
And is it visible? I think I know the answer to this one, but I'd like to hear your opinion on it.
yeah, as the L, it's getting worse and worse and
Yeah.
worse. Again, not his fault. This one's really not his fault, but he hasn't done anything about it. So if you tell people you're going to fix things and make things better, and then things get worse, you need to take some responsibility that you were too stupid and you shouldn't have made that promise in the first place. So that's where my criticism of Andy Burnham lies with the homes. There's nothing he can do. Our population's increasing, mass migration's increasing, more people now live in a single household. Divorce rates are going up, which then means we need two family homes instead of one family home. So everything we're doing wrong at the moment is increasing the demand for properties. And as a businessman, you know yourself, when demand for something increases, it usually means you can reduce the quality of that, because the people who won't take the poorer quality, there's other customers underneath that who will take the poorer quality. So we've gone back to the 70s, to the time of slum landlords. That's what we're getting now. Houses of multiple occupation, family homes where landlords won't do the repairs because they say, take it or leave it. If you don't like it, I'll evict you and I'll get someone in, and they'll keep their mouth shut because there is no homes. There's a huge shortage. So the first thing, what he could do, but again, he's done exactly the wrong thing again. He's just announced something called the Good Landlord Charter. So the Good Landlord Charter is a charter that landlords sign up to be good landlords. So who signs up to that? The existing good landlords. So we've just created more work for them to do now, but they were already good landlords.
The bad landlords don't sign up for the good
No, so the bad landlords don't care and not following the law anyway and won't sign up to his good charter. All those sort of virtue signalling projects do is penalise the hard-working good people and good landlords and good businesses. What
and provides no benefit to the renter either, because what renter, if they want a property and there's a shortage, is going to say, oh, before I sign up here, are you a member of the Good Landlord Charter?
Yeah.
Because if they say no, what are you going to do?
Well, they also won't ask that because the landlord who's a member of the Good Landlord Charter, his rent's more expensive because he's passed all those costs on to his tenant. Yeah. Of course he has. There's nothing wrong in that. It's a business. But if you're making it harder and more complicated and more expensive to be a landlord, the person who pays for that is the tenant. So the scum landlords are now even cheaper. So people then are driven to the slum landlords even more because they're £150 cheaper a month now, and they won't sign up to anything. We have so much legislation in this country to tackle landlords. I've got friends who are housing officers for the councils who would impose restrictions on rented buildings and stuff like that. I know how much legislation is out there for that. Legislation isn't the problem. What's the problem is enforcement of that legislation. Councils are short of money, councils are incompetent, so they don't enforce it or enforce a tiny amount of it. And they've got other things to spend their money on. I've come up with a plan for this. What we need is we need to open up the inspection of rented houses to the private sector. We basically need no win, no fee. If we opened it up to solicitors to say, if we can prove the house you're renting isn't fit for purpose, your landlord then has to pay back every penny you paid in rent up to the point where we decided your house wasn't fit for purpose anymore. The second you do that, don't forget ignore the councils, the private sector will take over making sure rented properties up to a good standard, because those no win no fee solicitors will say to tenants, we'll split the money 50-50. You've been in the house now 18 months, you paid 10 grand in rent, your house is a mess, toilet don't work, your roof leaks, mold everywhere. It breaches all this legislation. We're going to sue the landlord. We'll get 10 grand back. We'll split it 5 grand each. How quickly will those slum landlords clean up their act, knowing they're going to be sued for every penny they took from that house by their tenants? They'll do it themselves. We need to start looking at how we solve these problems. And we need to stop looking at local government, national government, regional government to solve our problems. We need to understand the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast for slum landlords are landlords who care more about profit than they do the tenant. So how do you incentivize them to start thinking less about money and more about the tenant? You financially penalize them. And you do that by having shark solicitors going around like they did with ambulance chasing and you know, get a bump in the car, got a bad neck. They will do it. They will do it for free if half the money comes to them. That's how we sort out some of these problems. But building new houses across Greater Manchester is really difficult. Planning has to go through councils. And what happens is, if you live in a nice area with green fields, you don't want those fields being built on because it ruins your view. I get that. We have brownfield sites. We have ex-commercial properties that could be easily turned into one-bedroom flats. We've got a huge shortage of one-bedroom properties. We need to relax the planning permissions that the councils run to let businesses start converting more brownfield sites and more old commercial properties. If a high...
Has Andy Burnham done any of that? Has he spoken to the councils, got them to relax their planning permission?
No. He's all about virtue signalling, wonderful projects that look great soundbite that achieve nothing. Because again, he's a socialist. He's not trying to solve any problems. He's always trying to work out more ways to spend our money and to control our lives. That's his two priorities. He knows if he had full control of all the money in the world and full control of our lives, he knows he could run our lives better for us. We'd all be happier. We'd all be living in utopia. He knows that to be true. We just haven't given him all the powers yet.
Yeah, we just need to give him more money and more power.
Exactly.
What about the 300 million fund then? What's he done with that? Because there is a fund there that he's been given, I'm guessing, from central government. What's happened to that?
Well, some of that will be spent on homelessness. So B&Bs, his rough sleeping project. But apart from that, I've no idea what he spent it on. He's probably spent it all on rough sleeping and homelessness.
But surely somebody should take him to task on that. What have you done with our 300 million quid? Because he's boasting about that in his 2021 manifesto.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all online. I'm sure if you had 45 minutes spare, you could Google it and end up finding exactly what he spent it on. Because it's all published, but it's published in documents where you can't find them, who's got the time to search these things out? I don't think it matters where he spent the money. All we know is that he's achieved nothing with it. Let's say he'd solved rough sleeping. I'd have said, well, at least, £300 million, a lot of money, but do you know what? At least he solved the problem with it. He hasn't even solved rough sleeping. It's actually increasing again in Greater Manchester. So he spends the money, but he doesn't solve anything. It's like going back to the buses. He's had a big grant off the government for his B network. But that's great, but that money's never going to be from the government again. So his project looks great while he's being given free money, but we have to stop subsidising. It always has to be run on the money that's available. Otherwise, we build people up to fail all the time. If you like that video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell and comment. And if you like what I'm saying about running for Mayor of Greater Manchester, then stick around. Tell your family, tell your friends. The only way I'm going to have a chance of winning is a grassroots movement. So be part of that movement and hit that bell. Thanks.